Okay, now, actually, I guess we this is the final screen. We've watched while the stars burned out and creation played in reverse, the universe freezing in half-light. Once I thought to escape. To end the end a master. Step out of the path of collapse. Escape would make us God.
Yet I cannot wait for the scroll.
Yeah.
It goes too slow.
Yeah, actually it was too fast. I couldn't get from the first to the second, but then the third one is so wide we have to wait for it. Yet I cannot help remember one enigma, a hybrid, elusive destroyer. This is the only mystery I have not solved, the only element unaccounted for.
The fifth element?
At least that many, I think. Even Spooth is no more. He saved his entire race. But in the end... Typography, guys, my god. Okay, he saved his entire race, but in the end, frozen by despair, he joined the chaos he sought to evade. I guess they just really wanted to be different with this, you know what I mean? Because everybody scrolls top, vertical? Yeah, everybody scrolls top to bottom, right? Where you get one whole line at a time. But this is weird because we can read beginning of 3 or 4 lines, but we still have to wait to get to the end.
Wait for the before
we know what's being said, and then they give you 2 at once.
At least they didn't go diagonal.
You ever been to see Blue Man Group? One of the times I was them, they did this thing where each one of them had like a single line of LED sign over their head, and they told you had to pick only one to read, and so everybody had to pick one. And then of course people try to read, more of them, but they're timed in such a way that to make it difficult.
Yep.
Is this getting to a point where I can read yet? See, no. I mean, like the bottom is going to scroll off the screen before I get enough of the top line to read it all.
Take a screenshot.
I guess. I'll pause the video, I guess, when we read it out.
I'll just take a screenshot.
Okay, you were dead 1,000 times. Hopeless encounters successfully won. A man long dead, grafted to machines your builders did not understand. You follow the path, fitting into an infinite pattern. Yours to manipulate, to destroy and rebuild. Now, in the quantum moment before the closure, when all become one. One moment left. One point of space and time. I know who you are. You are destiny.
Da-da-da-da. Talk about coming full circle.
Coming up next, Greg Kirkpatrick sues Bungie for use of destiny in the context of a video game.
They're going to trademark it.
So yeah, I guess
they tried to trademark candy.
I would do it. Well, Bungie didn't do that. That was somebody else. But
no. But somebody did.
So yeah, actually, given that we've got this nice, conveniently paused screen to talk about, we could, I guess, wrap up the Marathon series a bit here. One with this, which is this idea, this kind of meta idea, right? That they're not actually talking so much about the character of the security officer. That's what the top of it is about, right? A man long dead, grafted to machines your builders did not understand. And that way, I think Marathon is going to turn out to be more like what Destiny was than, say, Halo, right? Because Halo is the Spartan idea, right? Kidnapped children who are trained to be soldiers, whereas in Marathon, Battleroids were made from dead soldiers. And if what we've seen from the Grimoire cards revealed in the Destiny Alpha, it looks like they've gone back to this idea of reanimation, that Guardians are reanimated corpses, that ghosts from the Traveler pick from the many dead humans available or awoken or exo or whatever, and using the power of the Traveler to reanimate them. But this other bit about hopeless encounters won and dead 1,000 times, that's not the character's experience of a game. That's the human player's experience of the game, right? Dying and getting to keep playing by respawning over and over again.
I'm waiting for the sequel where the Achu rebel against the Gesundheit. Yeah. It's funny how all of these, they build these mythos and build these things up around, very, I don't want to say pedestrian, but I mean, say reused
stereotypical
science fiction, concepts and ideas that have been done, over and over and over again in dozens of different locations. But the twist is a little bit different and the depth is a little bit wider. And the writing that they do for it, they try to engross you and make you think and conceptualize a lot more than you would with an average shooter. I think the depth on this one, compared to Halo, was a lot more.
Oh yeah,
and immensely. I think for the language for a lot of the players and the species and locations and things, and though anytime that you're trying to come up with really, really interesting names that are even pronounceable in your own language, it does get kind of, it wears down on you after a while. But other than that, yeah, the only thing is, for this last one, though, I did think that the levels were somewhat terribly repetitive, and not in a good way. There wasn't anything or enough interesting elements after they started doing the collapsible timelines, the repetitiveness over and over again, where you're seeing the same thing. Even the last level, when I went, oh god, we're going back to the space station yet again.
True, but I would say you'd seen less than half of it by the time you get here, because there's a lot of it. But that's actually more disorienting, right? It's like you look at spaces and you think you know where everything is, but there's actually a bunch of stuff you've never seen before. And so you feel just as lost the last time as the first.
Even more so. Yeah, even more so. But that was it. So
I do think
for all
it's
those who
interesting
didn't get a chance
that
to see what came before.
that they do use that kind of stereotypical idea of the failed timelines. But remember, that's a structure that's almost entirely projected onto the game by the fans, right? Because there's nothing like Durandal.
Also, I mean, alien super weapons and cyborgs and.
Oh no, but what I mean though is that like Durandal or Tycho or Thoth, they never pull you aside and say, "Hey, by the way, you're repeating loops of time." I mean, that's a very common idea, and it gets discussed very openly. But in this one, it's really just kind of hidden. Like these.
Yeah, their trick was to not discuss it.
These levels just proceed in this way. They show you the repetition of certain areas to let you know you've been here before, and the terminals just retread the same bits over and over again. So the only person who comes to the conclusion that this is happening is the character, is the player. Like nobody else, no one certainly states it explicitly. I think Tycho in the last level kind of hinted at something being fuzzy with your memory, and that I thought maybe that means he's aware of what's going on at some level. I don't know.
Maybe.
To me, I thought it would be kind of a trick. The problem with all these things really is that although there's a really deep context around all the actions in the story, your actions in the game are still limited to shooting enemies, pushing switches, pushing buttons, opening doors, putting chips in, and even those actions are all really similar. It's like it's hitting a non-shooting action button while standing in certain places. That's what it is, and it's kind of hard.
Don't forget the riser puzzles.
Yes, but it's kind of hard to fit that into this idea that that you're an infinite, that deathless hero who survives to the closure of the universe, where you are destiny, and the universe is yours to manipulate, to destroy, and rebuild. I mean, I kind of feel, all right, maybe if they locked the level editor until you beat the game. That would give you corresponding in-world powers that they're giving you this through the story. But at the end of the day, Durandal told you to shoot stuff, and you did it. And then somebody else did. Tycho did.
And Tycho told you to shoot stuff, and you did it. And the people you were shooting at suddenly were shooting with you, and vice versa. So
it seems to me this is like a precursor to what you see happen in BioShock, right? Where you end up meeting the people who've been telling you, to do all these things, and then you're forced to kill them. Oops, BioShock spoilers.
Sorry. Oh, geez, spoilers, dude. We're gonna have to re-edit that.
Where you meet a character and you're forced to kill them. They're goading you into doing it, and the whole scene exists to underscore the fact that as a video game character, you essentially have no freedom. But anyway, still a great game. I do still think actually that there's a lot of flexibility in the text terminal interface compared to the normal cinematic cutscenes, because you're kind of allowed to absorb as much or as little as you want. I mean, you could read almost nothing of terminals and still kind of wander around, even if you didn't look at the maps or the instructions, and you could still, push all the buttons and pick up all the things and finish the game and not have any idea about any of the philosophical themes that characters are talking about, that they're trying to say are relevant to your actions. But you can also read it all. But it also means that like the kind of depth that you can't get from Halo if you don't like read the books or some of the additional material, that's already in the game. That's all in the game here, and you can consume it or not, but it's part of the game. It's not something that they gave out to a third party and just kind of read it and said, yeah, okay, that's good. And and then later they end up having to go back on a lot of stuff. Like I would say,
they charge you $7.95 per novel.
Oh, I don't. To me, it's not about that though. It's just that all of the text that makes up the story that goes through all of the terminals is part of the primary source work that is Marathon. It's not this thing in Halo where it's like, okay, well, this happens in the book, in the games, right? And then there are these other things in the books that contextualize it. But then a new game comes out, and that kind of says, well, okay, maybe, but now those things I read in the book don't really make sense. Especially when it came up to this whole like, oh, humans are Forerunner. No, humans are related to Forerunner. They're descendants of Forerunners. They were friends of Forerunners. And then you get into even later into the Halo stories and on a new series of books, and like humans used to be the primo badasses of the universe that were better at fighting the Flood than even the Forerunners were, and the Forerunners built the Halos because they didn't have the secret weapon against the Flood that humanity had and is apparently lost and stuff. And I haven't even played Halo 4, so I don't even know if any of it has anything to do with that. But that was in the first Greg Bear novel. I forget the title of that one, but the first novel that Greg Bear did for the Halo series covered a lot of that ground. And I don't know, I just feel that a lot of that stuff doesn't integrate with the games as well as Marathon's story integrates with its game. And part of it is the nature of the content itself, but part of it is also the presentation. And then
the other thing you got to think of is that everything that you read within Marathon is in your mind's eye as you're doing it. So it is always going to look, feel, sound, or be as or is deeper than any cutscene that somebody was already pre-rendered and made for you to watch and experience. When you're watching an experience, you're seeing and hearing exactly what they tell you to see and hear. Whereas if you read something, your imagination takes off and it can fill in as many blanks or make it as deep or as wide as you want it to be. So there's a depth to the written text that you will never ever get from a cutscene.
Yeah, and some of it is also just the depth. Like it's kind of dripped at you screen by screen. Even the long terminals are not really that long. I'm sure you don't get a novel if you string all the terminal texts together. It's not of that length. But for me, I don't know, the integration, the presentation is just better. Like the Marathon terminals work so quick, right? You walk up to them, you click them, and within a couple of seconds, you've got a lot of dense material to read, and you can read it carefully, you can skim it, or you can ignore it, right? It's entirely up to you. And even when they
cutscene is a cutscene.
Yeah, well, cutscenes are cutscenes. Obviously, you only get them at their speed, and you either watch the whole thing or you choose to skip it at some point, at which point it just stops. It's not random access.
Or worse, you get interrupted.
Yeah. And even when they added in the new terminals in the Halo 3, right, where there were text terminals, but even those, because they felt the need to have this, the kind of high-def graphics, and they had to have pictures with it and stuff, it takes longer to get in, it takes longer to get out, and then they mess up film playback as well.
It felt forced. It didn't feel integrated or part of the original system that was there. It was like, oh, we used to do this, let's do this again.
Yeah.
And, it's like it was tacked on.
I kind of feel it's too bad because, the audio diary ideas are nice. ODST did a good job with them. BioShock, I think, did a great job with them. That I thought was
clever, but even with the audio diaries, they're easier to record, I think, with actors who get a chance to actually express themselves through the written word and through their performance of it. But with those, they still had, semi-slideshows, so it was sort of like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
But even so, it didn't have as many problems as a cutscene, but it wasn't as deep as some of the written terminals. So I did like the integration though,
and again,
with ODST with that. I almost like that better than the cutscenes.
Yeah, and again, you can't skim them, right? You either skip them entirely or you play them up to a point and stop them. They did have this thing where they would continue to play, and I think BioShock does this as well. You can trigger one and then you can keep playing. So if you want, you can kind of put it in the background, where somebody's talking, but a lot of time that backfires, right? Because then you've got character dialogue, you've got weapon noises, and you've got the audio diary kind of all playing at once.
Yeah.
And,
That was disruptive. So if you didn't time it right or put yourself in a position where you could engross it, yeah, that was kind of detrimental. But I did thought that was far more integrated the same way that the marathon ones were. So that I definitely liked. And it was really a surprise when you discovered that they were there. You know, that it was like, wait a minute, that's what these are? Oh, cool. And yeah, that whole discovery element and surprise and curiosity and seeing where it was going, but it was giving you more details about the story of what was going on in the city, and that I thought was really, really neat.
Yeah. So I'll be curious to see what Destiny does. I think we know that there are going to be a certain number of traditional cutscenes, right? Because we've already seen some of that stuff, and we've seen a little bit of voice work in some of the explore missions that we know was very kind of cookie cutter. Maybe it was just for the alpha. Maybe it's just for future flexibility. But I'll be curious to know, are they going to do any other stuff like that? Like, will there be audio logs? Will there be text terminals of some kind? I'll be curious.
Will you have to dance in front of computers?
Or maybe they've moved that all into this grimoire card thing, right? Where you pick up an item in the game, right? But then you're going to go later to like the website, and it'll give you a bit of lore there. That's not a bad solution for it as well, right? Because it doesn't take out of the game, but it's still, the source is coming directly from the developer, right? It's not a third party giving you that. You know, it's not like an I Love Bees or a Halo novelization that's being done with the approval, but not necessarily the deep involvement of the creators.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching.
Yep, thank everybody for watching. I hope you keep watching the other stuff that we're going to do. Some more Bungie games, some more Minecraft. We're probably going to switch up the schedule of the Minecraft series to focus more on showing off recreated levels. But then we're also going to starting a new kind of medieval hack/survival with magic and no technology Minecraft series for a little bit.
We're going medieval on your buds.
So that was Marathon Infinity. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.
See ya. Well, we want to thank everyone for watching and putting up with all of us for as long as everyone has.
Yep. And the Destiny beta is going to be on us shortly. I think if everything goes to schedule, all of the Infinity levels should have been broadcast before we're actually playing the Destiny beta. So we will be playing some of that, and that will be going up on the channel. We've started actually constructing the Marathon in the Minecraft series, and then we're going to be doing some other stuff as well. Maybe some third-party scenarios for Marathon. We've had a request for the Vidmaster levels, and we also want to do some Myth maybe at some point. So all that stuff will be coming up. So see you guys again soon.
Tune in then.